Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you joining us from, I imagine, uh, early moments in your morning if you're out west here in the United States, and welcome to nearly lunchtime if you're out here on the East Coast of the United States, where I am today. We are happy to talk to you today all about the magic, really, of tying social media ads to actual foot traffic to actual physical retail locations. That's what today's all about. So if you are marketing for a chain, or if you're marketing for a brand, or if you're an agency marketing for a whole bunch of those things, we're going to reveal a whole bunch of insights into how social media can work really hard for you in that regard. So let's go ahead and jump in with just a quick overview of what we're covering today. But first and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Dan Dillon, and I look after marketing here at Reveal Mobile. And we think about location-based marketing, we think about location-based advertising, geofencing, attribution, offline attribution, all these kinds of things every day. We live and breathe it. So I'm excited to talk to you today about these topics on the left side of your screen. We're going to be, first of all, just setting the stage for what social media is today. And frankly, to cut to the chase, it is still the heavyweight in the ring, right? So we're going to talk through its prominence, all of the ways it works really hard for us, and all of the ways, of course, it can work harder for us. And we're going to think about that in terms of measurement. Attribution is, the third rail oftentimes in marketing, which is sort of that rail that, gives you the shock you don't want. But we're going to talk about how to remove that surprise and remove that mystery and tie paid social, a walled garden by definition, to visibility into your own marketing stack. And then we're also going to talk about how different campaigns work in different environments. So we're going to cover Facebook, we're going to cover Instagram, we're going to cover TikTok, and we're also going to cover a range of consumer markets inside of those platforms. So by the end of the session, of course, we hope to have a whole bunch of information available to you frankly, with information you can steal and use tomorrow. And if anything leaves you wondering or scratching your head, we want to make sure we answer your questions. So naturally, we will get to Q&A here at the end of the session. Anytime, though, don't wait. Anytime you have questions about today's session or topics we're covering in today's session, pop them into the questions box, and they will just line up in a queue, of course, and we'll get to them here by the end of the session. So we welcome any questions of any type. Nothing is off limits. So with all that as background, let me jump in with just a couple of context-setting slides about social media as a category. And some of this may not come as a surprise to you, but some of it might be enlightening in regards to the inner workings of paid social. We did a study not too long ago, and we asked marketers, what channels are you using today to drive sales, both both in-store and online? So this was a mix, of course, of digital marketers working in all kinds of verticals. And it goes without saying that social media was far and away the top channel used for both in-store sales and online sales. No surprise, perhaps. And then interestingly, you can see linear TV and radio, two very traditional channels, were in second and third place. Paid search, streaming audio, streaming video networks, and then some direct mail and programmatic display taking the final stages here, final places. And then interestingly, out of home, and if we ask the question, what channels do you use to drive in-store sales exclusively? I imagine out of home would have been much higher on this chart. And then you've got your streaming video on the far right. So all that to say, some of this is aspirational, right? Marketers are using paid social to drive online sales, and that's easy to measure, right? That's an easy attribution model. But when you're using paid social to drive in-store sales, that's a much harder equation, but it's certainly not stopping marketers from doing it, right? Better than 65% of marketers are using paid social to drive sales in store. And here's why. Social moves product, online and in store. 41% of marketers, 41% of consumers on Facebook have purchased apps they've seen either promoted or advertised or mentioned on that platform. You move over to TikTok and you've got nearly 50% of people using TikTok have also purchased a product or a service that they've seen on that platform. And then you get to Instagram, and this may not come as a surprise, right? This is a huge center of influencer marketing gravity, a huge center of consumer marketing gravity. 72% of users on Instagram have seen something mentioned, advertised, promoted, and then bought that thing, which is pretty remarkable. So paid social clearly is the 800-pound gorilla, not just in terms of its in its overall weight in the mix of our marketing mix, but also in terms of the consumer behavior and consumer mentality as well. So this is why we care so much about paid social, because frankly, it works. And here's where all the money's going, right? No surprise. This is eMarketer data. You can see here, we're spending this year nearly $57 billion on paid social just in the US, right? And this is a channel that's growing even in the worst of times. In 2020 was still growing at better than 11%. And now here back in the, in the more normal times, I can't say they're perfectly normal, it's growing at a clip of 16.2%, which is among the fastest growing digital marketing channels across the board, including, everything you can think of in terms of your own mix. So all this money is going to paid social, of course. And what's happening? Well, consumers are noticing, right? This is a channel that has a ton of noise in it. And if this is data from Whistleout, you can see here, the average feed for the average user on these platforms is 1/5 ads, right? If you're scrolling on Facebook, 20% of your feed, better than 20% of your feed, are promoted posts, are placed advertisements. 20% of Instagram in your feed is again ads, so it very much parity with Facebook, of course. LinkedIn, if this is a channel you care about and think about, nearly 20% of those posts in your LinkedIn feed are ads. I'm sure this is something you've noticed in your own usage of that platform. Even if you're not buying consumer goods off LinkedIn, you're still being hit with all kinds of ads. You get down to Twitter and the number starts to fall off a little bit, but it's still noisy at 14%. And then we see this area of opportunity. Only 2.4% of your TikTok TikTok feed is ads, which is a tiny portion of what you're actually experiencing on TikTok. So that's why we, frankly, are flocking to that platform, because it's not quite as noisy as your Facebooks or your Instagrams. And we like that, right? We want user-generated content. We don't necessarily want ads. However, this marks obviously a great opportunity for marketers to start strategically introducing paid content into TikTok, and we will talk about that here before the day is up. But why are we spending all this money? Well, consumers are looking for new products that they didn't even know they needed on paid social, right? If you think about how we use our phones today, we're out running errands and we want a smoothie, or we want a bagel or a cup of coffee near me, right? Bagels near me. And that's what Google is great for. It's going to take you to the nearest coffee shop or the nearest bagel store. But that's when we know we have a problem. I know I need coffee. I know I need a bagel. Where paid social comes in is, we didn't know we needed this thing, but man, I want this pillow. I didn't know I needed this stuff, but I want these non-alcoholic spirits. Man, I didn't know I needed this stuff, but I really want this pair of shoes, right? That's what paid social is for. And 3 out of 4 of us consumers are using Instagram, are using Facebook, are using TikTok to uncover things we didn't even know either existed or that we wanted really badly. So naturally, while Google is solving problems I have now, paid social is creating opportunities for what I want now and later. So paid social is becoming this channel where we are really, coming across things that we want to buy, especially with the holiday season coming up. This is a prime opportunity for thinking about these channels. So now you're thinking, okay, which one should I choose? Where's my audience? Frankly, your audience is on all of them. This is data from Pew, and it's telling us that each channel, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, has an age range on it. And what's interesting is that Snapchat's at the top of this chart because it has the broadest age range represented on the platform. You can see here that 65% of users are between 18 and 29 on Snapchat, and 2% of users on Snapchat are over 65. But that's a 63-year range in terms of who's actually on that platform. Okay, so you think about that breadth. And then you look at Facebook, and clearly this is a platform for Gen Xers, it's a platform for boomers. You've only got people between the ages of 50 and 70 on this platform. So it's really interesting to see just how much of a difference there is in the diversity of age groups on these different platforms. But the key takeaway here is that while certain platforms skew younger, we're all on all of them in various volumes. But the message here is, don't ignore one just because you assume your audience is only on that one. And we'll talk more about that here in a moment. all that to say, we're all on all these platforms, but there is a major obstacle to marketing and advertising effectiveness on these platforms. And let me talk through that for a minute. So when you're advertising on Facebook, or you're advertising on TikTok or Instagram or any of the big ones, or even the second tier platforms, you're getting some pretty good metrics, right? You're getting the stuff that marketing cares about. It's giving you your reach, it's giving you your number of impressions, your click-through rate, your cost per action, the number of times your ad is showing up in front of people, and of course you're able to toggle your budget on and off. And these are things marketing needs to care about. These are the things that we live and think about every day. But where these platforms fall short is on the right side or the far side of that red wall. So what you've got here is, now I'm blind, right? I want to know, I just ran a campaign on Facebook that was designed to drive people to, I don't know, Shake Shack, I'll make it up. And I have no idea if actually people showed up at Shake Shack from my ad spend. I'm now blind, right? And on top of that, not only do I not know how many people came to Shake Shack, I have no idea if my campaign drove any sales online or offline. So when we really need to report metrics to what the finance office cares about or what our CEO cares about, we sort of come up short. So the remainder of this webinar is really to remove the reveal here is to remove that red wall and talk about how to tie all the metrics that you've got on the left that paid social gives you by default with the metrics that your finance office and your CEO and your board really cares about, which is top line sales and volume to stores, volume to physical locations. And here is a key ingredient in that mix. And it's custom audiences. So you're aware of paid social in all the ways you can use built-in targeting tools to find people between the ages of 35 and 46, male, in these cities who love sports, right? That's easy. I can build that audience on Facebook in a couple of seconds and I'm done and I'm off to the races. But what you're getting there is you're getting people who are already sort of in Facebook's filters, and it's sort of a spray and pray approach. The takeaway here for custom audiences is that you are giving Facebook exactly the audience you want to advertise to. You are telling Facebook, hey, only serve my ads to this list. Let me talk through this for a minute. The key here in tying these two worlds together, paid social and foot traffic, is location-based custom audiences. So I've got an example here for you. Let's pretend we're building an audience and we want to target car shoppers. So what we're going to do is we're going to geofence and draw virtual perimeters around a bunch of auto dealerships and a bunch of places car shoppers go. Might be gas stations, might be auto dealerships, might be auto garages, it might be car parts stores. And we're going to extract all of the mobile ad IDs that have visited those locations by virtue of having geofenced them, right? So if I geofence all those locations and I pull those audience members down for easy math, I now have 1 million audience members in my addressable audience, and it's simply a CSV. It's nothing more than an Excel spreadsheet that I can upload to Facebook, to Insta, to TikTok as a custom audience. So I've got this audience based on places people have visited that I know my audience is going to, and I only want to serve to these people. So what do? I upload that list, and on step 2, I serve my ads on Facebook, and Facebook says, hey, we have, of these 1 million, 3/4 of them with accounts on Facebook, so you're going to reach 750,000 people with your new RV advertisement, right, to promote your new lot of RVs. And we're doing this just to that custom audience, right? We're not adding people, we're not adding males between 45 and 55, we're not adding people in Los Angeles or San Diego, we're just hitting that custom audience list. Because we've cordoned off that list and isolated it in Facebook, we now can measure visits to actual locations. So as a hypothetical, having served an ad to 750,000 people, we can now see, and I'll show you this tech in a second, 50,000 visitors came to my showrooms, came to my used car, new car lots, and I know how many cars I sold as a result of that. So the takeaway on this slide here is being able to, just as Facebook is a walled garden, as a marketer, you also can create a walled garden, in effect, of a location-based audience. Let me talk through how to do that. So when we think about geotargeting, and that's the word we're going to use to sort of mean location-based audiences, we think about 3 different segments that you can build audiences from. The first one are visitors to your own stores, right? This is about building loyalty. This is about maintaining the customer that you fought so hard to win, especially with shopping patterns having changed so dramatically. So we see organizations geofencing their own stores, their own Shake Shacks, their own Ace Hardwares, name it, you name it, they're doing it. And they're simply remarketing to those people to keep them coming back, right? Promote loyalty, promote repeat business. That's a custom audience you can extract and upload to Facebook. The second group that we're seeing a lot of people geotarget or geofence are competitors. And these are people who are stealing share from their nearest competitors. And they're geofencing those stores around them, whether it's in a DMA or whether it's nationwide, and saying, you know what, stop going to, I don't know, Pizza Hut, that's no good. Start coming to Domino's, or start coming to Papa John's, or name your pizza chain. And I'm making all these names up, of course, just for sake of example. But they are extracting pizza-loving audiences from places that people go to eat pizza, and they're marketing to those people and offering them a better product, offering them a better price, offering them a better experience. So they're making their piece of the pie grow, which is super smart. The third category of marketer that we see using this kind of technology and this kind of strategy are geofencing locations where they know their ideal customers also shop. So this is not about the competition. This is, let's say you're targeting people who like to maintain a healthy lifestyle, because let's say you're marketing workout apparel and equipment. That's your business, right? You're selling yoga clothing, you're selling weights, you're selling, cardio equipment. Well, you might want to geofence Whole Foods grocery stores. You might want to geofence yoga studios and Orange Theory and Planet Fitness and 24-hour fitness, all the places people would go when using your product. So they have an affinity for your own brand. And of course, they're going to be in market for your great clothing, your great equipment. So thinking about these three different segments, let me walk you through what this means in terms of real world practice, right? What kind of unpack each one of these in step. And I'm going to use Planet Fitness just because we all love to go to the gym, right? I certainly do, grumble. But in all seriousness, this is about a story about Planet Fitness looking to retain its own customers. So what they're going to do, and this is hypothetical, is they're going to geofence all of their different gyms across the country, and they're going to run ads. They're going to promote loyalty. They're going to run an invite a friend promotion, and they want to retain their active members and make sure that habit turns into, of course, recurring revenue. So very simple example for Planet Fitness. But beyond that, Planet Fitness can steal market share by geoconquesting. And this is where Planet Fitness starts to geofence Orange Theory and 24-hour and Crunch and target those locations and market to those audiences, because frankly, they're just going to the wrong gym. And your creative then can become, hey, we're going to match any price you're getting at Orange Theory, or hey, we're going to match any contract you have at 24-hour fitness, or whatever messaging you would want to create. But this is a really smart way to acquire net new customers who are already doing the thing you want to sell them. They're just doing it in the wrong place, right? And then you've got here at the bottom my Lululemon example, where you're geo-targeting and extracting audiences from places that your customers also shop. Athleta, Whole Foods, Sprouts, the Vitamin Shop, because you're selling, again, clothing that is used in gyms and healthy environments. So this is just, again, to kind of unpack with visuals what we just talked through in terms of how to think about different audiences for different customer acquisition strategies using paid social and custom audiences. So that's all backdrop. What I've got for you now in the following slides are actual campaign examples on these platforms in different consumer markets. So let's actually step through the first one. This is the story of Roundtable Pizza. It is about a couple hundred stores. If you've never heard of Roundtable, it's out west. So if you're out west, perhaps you've been there. And it's like any family restaurant that serves pizza, right? Solid product, great price point. And this is a story about Roundtable wanting to grow their market through geotargeting and stealing market share through geoconquesting. And here's the problem Roundtable's facing. Using tech that we have here at Reveal Mobile, we're looking at Roundtable's foot traffic over the past 4 weeks. And you can see here, their foot traffic has dropped 6%. That's not a good story. You can also see that their competitor foot traffic in the bottom right-hand corner is actually up. Pizza Hut's foot traffic is up. Little Caesars Pizza traffic is up. Even out-of-category restaurants like Fuddruckers, their foot traffic is up. Meanwhile, Roundtable's struggling. And they've also got an overabundance of repeat visitors, so they're not actually acquiring net new customers at a clip that they want to acquire them, right? 46% of their customers are coming back, which is a good problem to have, but you also need to be growing through net new customer acquisition. So frankly, it's time for Roundtable to innovate. So let's talk through what Roundtable would do hypothetically to both grow their, keep their existing audience and grow a new audience. First thing Roundtable is going to do is they're going to geofence their own locations. And by virtue of doing this, we actually ran an experiment ourselves, and we were able to look back after geofencing Roundtables. I think this was a 7-day look back. So we were able to extract 279,845 device IDs, mobile ad IDs, for the sake of remarketing to Roundtable Pizza visitors, right? So we know they're already coming to these stores. Let's keep them coming back. Now, to win market share, we've also geofenced the competitors we know are on our hit list. One is Pizza Hut, one is Bricks Pizza. They sell a very similar product at a very similar price point in a very similar environment. So we geofenced these locations as well, and we extracted 975,414 mobile ad IDs. So now we're adding that to our list. We're well over 1 million at this point. But we also want to get customers who are eating hamburgers at Fuddruckers to come try our pizza at Roundtable, because hey, you know, similar environment, similar price point, but just a different, obviously a different dinner altogether. So we're going to geofence Fuddruckers as well, and we're going to extract nearly 89,000 device IDs. So now we have an aggregate, an audience of nearly, what is that, 1.3 million addressable people all ready to hear about Roundtable Pizza. So what do? We go to Facebook and we say, okay, I'm going to upload a customer list. I'm going to put that in the form of a CSV, which is mobile ad IDs. And there I'm uploading it here, and you can see I'm going to push this audience into Facebook, and I'm going to serve my creative only to this list. I don't care about anybody else on Facebook. I don't want to address them. I don't want to talk to them. I just want everybody who's been to Pizza Hut, Fuddruckers, Bricks, and of course Roundtable, because I want to serve them this ad. And who doesn't want a barbecue beef bacon pizza, right? So this is what I'm now advertising to all these people. I'm going to use an ad type, a conversion ad type. I'm going to have a great call to action. Of course, the hero of my ad is going to be the delicious food that I serve at Roundtable. And I want to be able to measure store foot traffic. So this is where we're tying those mobile ad IDs to actual conversions. And this is the trick in terms of custom audiences and measuring what matters. Aha, now we can actually see the foot traffic that's showing up at Roundtable. And here's a couple charts to walk through really quickly. In the top area, you've got this dark area, this dark field that shows foot traffic by day. And you can see in this case, January 21st, 2022, we had 10,155 people come to our stores, which is great. That's a one-day number. In aggregate, though, we had 72,263 people come to our Roundtable Pizzas locations. And we can multiply that number off to the right by the average ticket that we see at Roundtable, which is $35. So now all of a sudden, very quickly, we have a top line result of better than $2.5 million in pizza sales from our Facebook campaign. On top of that, we know our foot traffic trend has increased 4%. We can see how many devices we actually targeted, how many households were a part of that addressable audience, and of course, how many locations are in our franchise, 433. So we can take this report, take this number to our CFO, take this number to our board and say, I ran a campaign on Facebook for tens of thousands of dollars, and I gave the business 2.5 million in top line. So there you go. There's the way to grow your marketing budget from, in this case, Facebook for Roundtable Pizza. So that's story number one. Let me walk you through story number two. This is, of course, Instagram and Nordstrom, which is a well-known clothing store. Forgive me, I had to think of the word. Well-known clothing store that's often found in malls across the United States. Sometimes they are standalone stores, but they are often the flagship property at large, vibrant malls across the US. So the story of Nordstrom here is not all that dissimilar from Roundtable Pizza. Their foot traffic has also dropped 7% month over month. They're also aware of the fact that people need to travel more than 5 miles to get to their store. So only 21% of their audience lives within a 5-mile radius of the store they are shopping at. So they know they need to reach further than, you know, the local neighborhood. And their repeat visitors, contrary or opposite of Roundtable, is actually very low. So they're spending a lot of money on getting net new customers who frankly aren't coming back a second time. Only 23% of Nordstrom's audience is coming back to either return something or buy something more or maybe get a second pair of something. So Nordstrom has some problems they also need to address. So let's talk through what this might look like. First and foremost, Nordstrom wants to geofence their own stores to make sure they have those customers, those 23% coming back. They want to grow that number. So they're going to geofence their stores and they're going to extract mobile ad IDs and they're going to get 1,486,000 mobile ad IDs by looking back. This was a 30-day look back period. So we can see out of that 30 days, almost 1.5 million people visited Nordstrom, and we're going to take that audience and stick it in our pocket. We're also going to geoconquest all of Nordstrom's closest competitors, Neiman Marcus and Taylor, Anthropologie. We know people who shop there need to come to Nordstrom because it's the very similar experience. And we're going to look back 30 days and we're going to extract another 2.5 million device IDs. So now we have the better part of 4 million addressable accounts on Facebook, or in this case, forgive me, Instagram. And we're going to upload those to Instagram using the Facebook Ad Manager because it's all the same. And Facebook, we did this actually as an experiment, and Facebook told us that they gave us a 74% match rate on the Nordstrom audience and a 71% match rate on the Neiman Marcus and Anthropologie audience. What does that mean? It means that of the 1.48 million devices, 74% of those had an account on Instagram. Of the 2.53 million device audience, 71% of those people had an account on Instagram. So it's not 100%. You're not going to get 100% match rate from physical store visit to custom audience upload, but you're going to get a pretty healthy match rate. So what do? Now we go to Facebook Ad Manager and we build a custom audience and we want to serve these ads on Instagram. And we're actually going to make this an influencer marketing campaign just to change up the creative. We're going to use a really smart influencer who's got a great following, and we're going to run ads targeting users in this audience on Instagram stories and Reels. And of course, there's just a quick 1, 2, 3 on how to do that. If you're not familiar with Instagram custom audiences, this is a quick tutorial on how to do that. And now we're going to serve our ads. And we're going to have Julia, a really smart, savvy influencer in the Nordstrom apparel, doing some great creative, right? Wearing this fall ensemble. And we're going to have her become our creative, right? But we're only going to have her ad serve to these visitors who've been to Nordstrom and who've been to these competing stores. Now, the key here is to use a reach ad type. And why we're using reach is because we know our audience is constrained to only those accounts that we've uploaded, of course, through the custom audience. So there's no worry about using a very broad ad type because we're already artificially constraining our audience to who we want to reach. Our call to action is shop now. We want everyone to come to Nordstrom and buy this sweater or something like it. And of course, we need to measure foot traffic. A quick note on influencer marketing, though, and this is a strategy that, of course, is alive and well on Instagram. In fact, it's the #1 platform for influencer marketing across all of the platforms. For now, TikTok is making a run at it for sure. But looking at Julia's profile, you can see she already has 1.3 million followers, some of whom you may be reaching in your custom audience, some of which you may not. That's not important because everyone's shopping or should be shopping at Nordstrom in your audience. And you can see she's got already a very good track record of posting. She's got nearly 7,000 posts on this platform. So she's a proven influencer. Not only that, on this one post that we're using in this example, she had better than 16,000 likes. So not only does she have all these followers and all these posts, people respond to her very favorably. So word to the wise, when you're looking for influencers to use for your own influencer marketing campaigns, don't just look at followers. Look at how active they are on these platforms in the form of posts. And more importantly, look at how much response their actual posts get in the form of likes or comments. And that will give you a feel for just how powerful or impactful your influencer of choice is. Okay, now let's go to what matters and measure this campaign and see what happened. So we have, of course, all these devices we've targeted, and we've made Nordstrom's foot traffic go up 33%, looking down at the bottom of this chart. We've driven 88,241 unique visits to Nordstrom stores across their system, and we've multiplied that number by their average ticket to get 1.94 in top line sales. So again, we have really powerful numbers to show to our board, to show to our finance office, our CEO, and we can say, you know what, we know exactly what happened when we ran this audience on Instagram. It drove this many visits and this many sales, of course, using our average ticket. And there's all kinds of variables you can include in this math. If you know that everyone who visits is not a guaranteed sale, you can add some sort of multiple or some sort of qualifier to this number and say, hey, only 3/4 of people who visit actually make a purchase. So we're going to multiply 1.94 times 0.75, and then we're going to give you the top line number. So these numbers aren't necessarily fixed. You can use them however you'd like, and make sure you've got the numbers that, of course, your operators care most about. This is the Instagram story. Let's wrap up with one last story featuring TikTok, everybody's favorite new platform. And let's tell the story of Bojangles. If you're not familiar with Bojangles, it is a QSR, a quick serve restaurant in the southeastern United States. It's very much along the lines of a Chick-fil-A or a Kentucky Fried Chicken. They specialize in chicken and biscuits and really sort of southern fast food, which is a lot of fun. So let's tell the story of Bojangles and what their goals are. They have actually almost 800 locations across the US, and they want new customers, full stop. They know they are not well known. They're trying to beat Chick-fil-A, they're trying to beat KFC, they're trying to beat McDonald's, for crying out loud. So they need to get creative, and they need to go beyond their typical competitors to target other locations where they know their customers go. But everybody eats, right, fast food by and large. So how do you decide where your customers are actually most concentrated? Well, using location data, again, tech that Reveal Mobile has, we look at this data on these charts and we say, well, out of all the places that our customers go, they're also eating at Subway, which is fine. So we're going to think about acquiring that audience. They're also eating at a fairly decent, volume at McDonald's, and then Chick-fil-A and on down. But more importantly than that, because we know fast food is fast food in some ways, people just use it for convenience. We also want to know other stores that they're going to, so we can actually run ads to those audiences who are visiting First Bank and Food Lion and Walmart, and make sure they come to Bojangles, because they just might not know we exist, but we know they're going to those places as well by virtue of having visited both types of locations. So here we are. Now we've got these audiences in the fast food category, McDonald's, Subway, Chick-fil-A. We're going to target all those places and acquire those mobile ad IDs. And on top of that, we're going to go target Starbucks and Food Lion, which is a grocery store chain, Walmart's and First Banks, and we're going to acquire all those audiences. And we're going to start to serve some cool creative on TikTok. And if you're not familiar with TikTok's ad manager, if you've never used it before, it is super breezy. They have solved for all the complexity that Facebook never really solved for. So it's kind of a delight as a marketer to log into Facebook's backend, to log into TikTok's backend and run your custom audience on TikTok, right? Step one, choose your audience. Step two, you're uploading a customer file. Step three, and it actually defaults to mobile ad ID, which is in Apple's language, IDFA, in Google's language, Google Ad ID, GAID. And you can upload your CSV file very simply and do the exact same thing you've been doing on Facebook and on Instagram, and serve ads only to those audiences on your list, which of course have come from Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and First Bank and Food Lion. And what do? You serve creative that makes people hungry, right? And you've seen TikTok perhaps, people eating the food that looks so delicious. Again, same ad type, reach. Maybe your call to action is order now or visit now or get directions. And of course, we want to measure this in the form of store foot traffic, and I'll show you that chart here shortly. The key, though, is that our creative on TikTok has to be really specific, especially for food and QSRs. There was a piece of research done not too long ago for MGH that surveyed TikTok users and said, what motivates you to go buy food when you see it on TikTok, whether advertised or not? What are the 3 things you need to see to convince you to go get, in this case, a sub sandwich? Well, I want to see the food, first of all. I want to see the signature menu item that looks so delicious, like the round table pizza example, because man, I want to be tempted, right? I want my appetite to be built. The second thing I want to see are things that the store might have that I didn't know existed. I didn't know, in this case, Bojangles had salad, or in this case, I didn't know Bojangles had a vegetarian option, as an example. So show me that and bring me in store for those unique items. Or thirdly, show me what it looks like to be in the restaurant. In this case, what does a Bojangles even look like? When I'm driving down the road, What should I look for? Is the sign big, small, yellow, upside down, backwards? Tell me, like, how will I recognize this place when I come to it? So if you're running creative on TikTok, these are 3 really key things to think about, especially relative to your QSR clients, or if you're a QSR yourself, what you might want to show. If you're not a QSR, if you're not a quick serve restaurant, you certainly still can show your signature store items, which might be a piece of clothing, it might be a piece of furniture, but bear in mind, make your product the hero of your creative. That's the lesson here. So let's see what happened to in this case, Bojangles. Their foot traffic actually did not rise, so it's not always a win. There's not a guaranteed win here, but we do know on the bright side that our campaign drove 4,600 unique visits to Bojangles restaurants, and at an average ticket of I think that's $15. You've got $138,000 in top line sales. And if our TikTok campaign was in the thousands of dollars and we can drive 138,000, again, we have a very profitable return on ad spend in this regard as well. So really powerful results that allow you to see what happened on these walled gardens, what happened with Facebook, what happened with Instagram, what happened with TikTok, because frankly, those metrics are not available in platform. They are available by tying together mobile ad IDs you've extracted from location-based audiences and uploaded as custom audiences on these platforms, and then measured in a geofencing platform, much like Reveal Mobiles, that allow you to see exactly what happened in terms of store visits. All that to say, I'm sure there's some questions in the queue. I covered a lot of territory in a fairly brief period of time. So let's see what questions we have here in the queue that I can answer. And feel free, now's the time to pop your questions in the questions box. Do you geofence through device IDs or by collecting identifiers such as email address or phone number? Great question. We actually geofence through device IDs. These are opted in, privacy compliant mobile ad IDs that are available through mobile devices that, of course, we've all opted into location services on our phones. So that is the data point, that is the data value that is being uploaded to Facebook or Insta or TikTok. It is the mobile ad ID. And it's always opted in and it's always privacy compliant. We do all the scrubbing on the background, in the background. Next question, how would you recommend implementing these tactics for a company like a fuel gas stop where customers are on the go and mobile all the time? That's a great question. If you are maybe you're Schnucks in the Midwest, maybe you are Flying J truck stop across the country, right? I imagine this is one of those advertisers that's looking to get people who may never return. Well, really smart question, because you're not necessarily looking for a repeat visitor. You're looking for net new customer acquisition all the time, which is a hard path to walk. But I commend you for the question. What I would recommend in this case is geofencing all of the filling stations, all the gas stations that are not yours, and make sure you are advertising a better experience. Frankly, you know what people want. They want a clean store, they want a clean restroom, they want a food selection, they want friendly customer service. These are the things that you can beat your competition at by having marketed that in your creative, but also having extracted those mobile ad IDs from the places where you do not want those commuters or those travelers to visit. You want them to come to your particular fuel gas stop. So that's geoconquesting is what we call that. You can also, of course, retain your own customers by geofencing your own stores and having people come back, because if you have locations across the country on Interstate 80 or Interstate 95 or wherever you are, you can make sure that they go out of their way to stop again at Wawa or at Sheetz or at whatever gas station you're talking about. So I can wait for the next exit to get to a Shell station. I don't have to go to Exxon, right? So that's the ad that you're going to serve me. Next question. Maybe I missed this, but the foot traffic was still down by 15% in the Bojangles campaign, but conversions were up. Yes, very astute observation. It's not always a win. So if foot traffic is way down, let's say foot traffic is down 50%, 50, in the weeks preceding your campaign, in the weeks of your campaign, if it's only down 15%, that's of course a 35-point increase. So you're not always going to have a net positive foot traffic reading if it was already severely suppressed pre-campaign. So you've clearly risen, but you've just not risen past 0 in this case. So that's a little bit of a of a tricky visual there, but very astute observation on your part. Let's see, next session. How would you reapproach Bojangles to drive an increase in foot traffic trend? Great question. The short answer is keep spending, right? So if you've got a campaign that's supposed to run 4 weeks and you're out of budget, I would say, you know what, we need to we have the data. We can see where our foot traffic has been. We need to get it north of 0. So here's what that's going to take budget-wise based on what we're bidding on these platforms. So it's a function of how much you're able to bid, how long you want your campaign to run, and how many times you want your ad to appear in front of a typical audience member. And you might know that the average number of exposures you need an audience member to see your ad is maybe at a minimum 2 and maybe a maximum of 6. And the platform will give you that data. Your Facebook will give you that, your TikTok will give you that, and it will tell you the number of exposures your audience needs to have to actually show up, in this case at Bojangles. So that's good data to use in your campaigns as well. It looks like that's the last question in the queue, but don't be discouraged. If you can't think of your question now, no problem. Make a note of my email address. I'm always available to talk shop. I'm always available to talk about everything we do here at Reveal Mobile: geofencing, geoconquesting, location-based marketing, location intelligence, foot traffic attribution. We measure out-of-home campaigns. So if you have an out-of-home campaign where you want people to come to Panera, or you want people to come to name your store, we know if somebody saw an out-of-home ad and then showed up either in store or at an online store, we can measure that attribution as well. Location data is a very powerful piece of the marketing tool belt. So don't underestimate it in terms of everything it can do for you. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate all your questions. If we didn't get to what you asked, we will certainly follow up in person directly after the webinar, and do make a note of my email address. We'll be happy to get back to you in real time that way. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for joining us, everyone. Take care.